Am I an idiot for accidentally calling out a new colleague for lying about her language skills? Last week a new colleague, Kathy, female 33, started at my, female 25, workplace. She instantly stood out in the team because she seems like someone who is very loud and assertive. Two of my colleagues, me and Kathy, were having coffee in the break room. We were the only ones in there and we were sitting far apart when the subject of travel was brought up. My colleague said she wasn't booking trips anymore because it'll probably get cancelled because of COVID anyway. Kathy immediately cuts in about how sad she is because she travels so often and she goes on these far exotic trips to Europe as her hobby. When I think exotic, I think the Bahamas or something instead of Europe, but cool. Kathy then jokes about how all this no travel business is making her fear that she'll lose some of her foreign language skills. I asked what languages she spoke. She claimed to be fluent in 3 European languages, among which were French and Dutch. Kathy said she was at a native speaker level and went on about how people in Europe were always surprised when they found out she wasn't from there. I was excited, because I never get to speak Dutch over here. I was raised in Belgium, which has 3 national languages, French and Dutch, which are my mother tongues and the most commonly spoken there, and German. It's quite common to be pretty fluent in at least 2 out of the 3 languages in Belgium, because you're required to learn them at school, along with English, from a young age. I told Kathy some Dutch meaning oh fun. We have something in common then. She immediately pulled this sour face and asked me if that was supposed to be Dutch. I said yes. She laughed awkwardly and said she couldn't understand because I have a terrible accent and must not be that good at speaking it. Now see, I don't have an accent. I speak Dutch more fluently than I speak English. I told Kathy that I grew up speaking Dutch and spoke it to my family all the time. She got miffed and asked what languages I speak and where I'm from. I told her I'm from Belgium, so I also speak French, and I added what you just said you speak as well. Cool. We can speak French instead. I acknowledged that I was a bit of a prick here, because by that point I knew she probably lied about speaking French as well. She then shoved her chair back and angrily got up, said whatever and stomped off. It was awkward. My other colleagues just kinda shrugged and said she shouldn't have lied. However, she later approached me and told me I embarrassed her by acting superior about my European heritage. I told her there was no way for me to know she'd lied about speaking those languages. She rolled her eyes and told me I was immature. A colleague told me that Kathy had called me a little witch who enjoys bullying new colleagues behind my back later. I don't think I was a bully at all, but I don't want this to turn into a huge thing. Do I just apologize to keep the peace? Am I an idiot? Edit 1. I'm not sure about escalating this to HR, which a lot of people have told me I have to do. I feel like this might make me look immature to the rest of my colleagues, of which I am the youngest, and it might not need to go that far. It depends on if Kathy is willing to put this behind her and be professional. If all else fails, I do have witnesses who would be honest about what happened, so I think I might be in the clear if she tries to twist the story. Edit 2. Some people have taken offense to me giving the Bahamas as an example of an exotic place and are trying to make this into a race issue. I didn't know exotic was an offensive term in the US. Do I think of the Netherlands, Belgium, England, Norway, which were countries she was describing as being faraway exotic destinations, as my idea of an exotic trip? No, not because there's a lot of white people there, but because when I think of exotic I think of a place with nice sunny weather, white sand beaches and a blue ocean. Maybe it's because I'm from Belgium, but I don't really feel like being in my home country where it's dark and rainy all the time is quite that experience. Edit 3. Some people think she might not have understood me because she is fluent in Dutch, but learned it in the Netherlands, which has different accents. While it is true that the Netherlands and Flanders have different accents, I didn't speak a very specific dialect like West Flemish or something. I spoke the general Dutch you'd see in the news in Flanders. I didn't speak quickly to try and make it incomprehensible to set her up. I genuinely believed she spoke Dutch because that's what she was saying, so I talked to her in normal, conversational Dutch. The same kind of Dutch I'd use in a work environment back in my home country, the same kind of Dutch I use with friends from the Netherlands. Update. Many people gave the advice to go to HR. Others said not to go to HR because that would be escalating the situation. I decided not to go to HR right then, but I did take the advice to write down what happened, with the time and the names of the other colleagues present just in case. I thought the situation might blow over because Kathy was probably just embarrassed. Well, I was wrong. Kathy kept being cold to me, rolling her eyes at me in meetings and talking behind my back. Another colleague came to confront me at one point to ask me why I had been so mean. Apparently Kathy was telling a different version of what happened. Kathy said that I'd said mean things to her in Dutch and was making fun of her in Dutch, so no one else but her could understand. She was smart enough to only tell these stories to colleagues who weren't actually there for it. Word got around and it turned into a bigger issue, with a couple people actually questioning my character, mostly just colleagues that don't work very close to me. HR got wind of it after a while and I got called in close to a month after the incident. They had already met with Kathy and she told them that she cursed me out in Dutch and was very mean to me story. I told them the full story and everything that happened after. They asked me if there was anyone else present who could confirm this, so those colleagues came and told them that Kathy had lied about speaking a language, stormed out and then started calling me a B-word etc. to others. They thanked me for my time and I got on with work. Nothing happened until a week later when I was informed that Kathy was asked to leave. Apparently Kathy had doubled down on the lies and told everyone I was the one lying, and she did speak those languages, so my boss told her in that case she'd have no problem talking to one of our Canadian colleagues, who wasn't involved in the situation, in French in front of him, just to confirm. At this point Kathy admitted she had been lying. It turned out she didn't speak a word of French either, or Norwegian, which was the third language she was lying about. This was enough for them to let her go, because part of the reason they hired her was that they were so impressed by her speaking multiple languages and work experiences she'd had abroad. The work experiences were made up as well. I'm just happy it's over. I'm confident it wasn't really my fault it blew up now. If it wasn't me who caught her in a lie, someone else probably would have down the line. The few people who kind of believed her ended up coming to me and apologizing for questioning me about what happened, so that's all sorted at it. Some people asking why they didn't test her language skills in the hiring process. Our jobs don't actually require us to speak Dutch, French or Norwegian. I think they probably just saw it as a plus or something that made her stand out from other candidates. Not an idiot. Thanks for updating. I was wondering how this would ultimately play out because Kathy seemed like the sort who wouldn't know when to shut herself down, and so it seemed inevitable HR was going to get involved sooner or later. Glad things went so well for you. Not an idiot. She only has herself to blame. She sounds like a sociopath who gets by in life through lies and manipulation. Liars get used to having their lies believed, and they really don't like it when people call them on their lies. Would you ever lie on a resume? Let me know in the comments. Now, am I an idiot for not letting my best friend have her wedding on my property after being uninvited? One of my, male 29, best friends Carla, female 31, is getting married soon. It's only meant to be a small backyard type of wedding, but they've been planning it for a few months now, and originally it was supposed to be on my property. They wanted it because it's private, has lots of open space for the reception, a nice view, and the house could be used for them to get ready and stuff. Of course I said yes. She and her fiancé Rick were very happy. Thing is, Carla and I do have a history. We went out on and off in college but decided to stay friends. Then I met my wife. We got married. Carla met Rick and now here they are. Now my wife knows I went out with Carla back in college and she didn't care. Carla still went to our wedding and everything. I never knew if Rick was told or not. It's not my relationship, therefore not my business to say anything, so I never did. Rick found out recently and not in the best way. Not sure how, but from what I heard from friends is that one mutual friend told him. No idea why. We used to date. Not only that, but apparently Carla said a couple years ago she was still in love with me when she was already dating Rick. Don't have actual confirmation if that's exactly what he was told. All Carla's told me is that Rick was told about our past and he's angry at her for never saying anything. It became quite a drama and I didn't hear from her for over a month until now. She told me they're going to couples counseling and that the wedding is still on. But Rick requested that I not attend. It sucks, but I totally get why he wouldn't be comfortable. Then I asked the obvious question, where are they going to hold the wedding then? To my surprise, she said they still want it at our place. Rick said so too, and in my mind I'm going, he doesn't want the guy who dated his fiancée years ago at the wedding, but still wants the wedding at his house. My wife and I are expected to just not be at our home that weekend, and I told Carla no. They're going to have to find someplace else since we're not going to simply leave our home to them for the weekend. Not only for safety reasons, but it just doesn't make sense. Rick doesn't want me around because he's not comfortable, but is comfortable enough to have their wedding at my house. They really want their wedding here though, and because of that I've been bugged by not only her but also Rick and some friends who think I'm being a petty idiot for not letting them have the wedding here anymore. Honestly, don't think that I am. It just doesn't make sense at all to have to leave our own place for a wedding we're no longer welcome to and leaving our home totally vulnerable. Still, being accused of sabotaging their wedding, Rick believes it's the least I can do after everything. Am I an idiot? Update. Some stuff has happened recently and many of you have wanted an update on this. Appreciate the reassurance and understanding my decision when it seems that many in this situation didn't. I remain firm in my decision about not letting them use my property for their wedding, even if they change their mind about inviting us, which honestly I don't care about anymore. Rick's family, thanks to him, got a hold of my cell, so that was more people I had to deal with. I put my foot down with Rick a few days ago and told him directly that I will go to the police and press charges for harassment. I have all the texts and calls documented. Also had a very long talk with Carla about everything going on. She apologized for it all, and she knows it's her own fault. Well, she decided to be the one to call things off in the end. Some of my friends still seem to think it's my fault and I'm taking some distance from them for a while. And also from Carla after getting some confirmation on a few things that I needed to know. Whole thing is a mess. I'm only glad in the end that I didn't give in to their demands and the constant bugging has stopped. It still was a huge headache over the last few days and not the kind of drama I want back in my life. Thank you to everyone who made me feel supported in this. It helped a lot not feeling like the only other person, aside from my wife, who thought their demand was insane and inappropriate. Not an idiot. That whole situation sounded insane. I'm sorry you had to endure harassment from such entitled jerks over it, and you've potentially lost a long-time friend because of it. But I think you're better off. Fiancé especially sounds nuts. I can't grasp being so insecure over learning that my so has, gasp, dated other people before me. Would you have caved and let them use your property? Let me know in the comments. Now, am I an idiot for inviting my dad's girlfriend over my real mom to spend the day with me? My female 17 parents got divorced 6 years ago. My mom quickly remarried and my dad has been seeing his new girlfriend for nearly 2 years now. I now live at mom's house for 2 weeks, then switch over to dad's house for the next 2 weeks. My relationship with my mom has always been difficult. I always felt like my mom wished for a more girly daughter, so we could do classical mother-daughter activities together, but I'm simply not that person my mom wants me to be. I've always been more tomboyish and have been into sports, especially tennis since I was a little girl, something my mom never truly understood or made an effort to be interested in. As a result, my mom and I never had the close mother-daughter relationship I feel like my mom wished for us to have. Now my relationship with my dad has been the polar opposite. My dad and I always got along great and I have always been a daddy's girl. But when my dad introduced me to his new girlfriend Julia, I instantly disliked her. My younger self thought she was stealing my dad from me, her being relatively young, 27 when they began dating. And how I unfairly stereotyped her at first. Vapid pretty girl certainly didn't make me like her either. But my younger me misjudged her, and she's honestly pretty great. She always supported me, showed interest in my passions, showed up to my tennis matches, something my mom didn't bother to do, and has been a great person all around. I'm now ashamed to admit this, but I didn't recognize this until about 3 months ago and have been acting pretty horrible towards her before that. The problem. Second last weekend I had a tennis tournament where I got second place. For second place, I won a spa day for me and a guest. I decided to invite Julia, my dad's GF, to thank her for supporting me and for dealing with my horrible behavior. You don't believe how happy she was when I invited her. But when I returned to my mom's place on Sunday evening, my mom kind of assumed I would invite her as my guest for the spa day. She seemed to really look forward to it. When I awkwardly told her that I already invited Julia, she was disappointed and sad. Since then, she has acted downcast and moody, and we haven't really talked. I tried to explain the situation to her, but she wouldn't listen. Now I feel horrible. I feel like I really hurt my mom, and I feel like I chose Julia over her. Am I the idiot for inviting my dad's GF over my mom to spend the day with me? Update. First of all, I would like to thank everyone for taking the time to read and reply to my post. I have read every response and I appreciate all the input. I have been putting off talking to my mom until Sunday a week ago when I finally found a good opportunity to talk to her. I told my mom that I love her, that I didn't intend to hurt her by inviting Julia, and that I feel terrible for hurting her. I also explained to her why I invited Julia. This time she seemed to listen, and reassured her that me inviting Julia doesn't mean we can't have our own spa day, or that I chose Julia over her because she is still my mom and I'll always love her. Then I showed her the websites of some spa places I had looked up beforehand and offered to pay for part of the costs. I know some people advised me against it, but I think it's a small but important gesture to show my mom how much she means to me. My mom seemed really excited to go to one of them with me and said I wouldn't have to pay a cent. Then came the hard part for me. I told my mom that I feel like she never supported me and my interests, and it hurts me that she can't even be bothered to show up to my tennis matches. I also expressed my feelings that I always felt like she wished for a more girly daughter and how this hurt me. At first, my mom got pretty defensive. She tried to deny it, but I was adamant, and in the end, when she saw how important this was for me, she apologized and promised to improve. Later at dinner, my mom asked me if I would like to go to a nearby climbing park with her and my stepdad in the future. I instantly agreed and was so happy, because going to a climbing park isn't something my mom would normally suggest. I feel like it means she genuinely listened to me and tries to truly improve our relationship. It has been a week now since I talked to my mom, and I'm in good spirits as I hope our relationship will improve. Not an idiot. It's great to hear that your mom seems to have really taken to heart that your interests differ from hers, and she's willing to do things she doesn't necessarily have much interest in order to spend time with you.